In August of 2021, MUFON will hold its annual symposium in Las Vegas, Nevada. UAPs, military and government witnesses, speak out. If you can't make it in person, get the live stream. You also get a 1-year subscription to MUFON Television.
There have been a certain percentage of this volume of reports that have been made by credible observers of relatively incredible things. It is this group of observations that we now are attempting to resolve. We can say that the recent sightings are in no way connected with any secret development by any department of the United States.
Major Keyhole, as author of the book Flying Saucers Are Real, what is your opinion of these new sightings of unidentified objects?
With all due respect to the Air Force, I believe that some of them will prove to be of interplanetary origin. During a 3-year investigation, I found that many pilots have described objects of substance and high speed.
U.S. intelligence agencies will present a report to Congress by the end of the month on UFO sightings by members of the military. And according to the New York Times, that report will say the vast majority of documented incidents did not originate from the U.S. military, and the UFOs are not a result of secret government technology. But there's no definitive assessment on whether they are alien life or not.
As many of you know, the 2021 Intelligence Authorization Act, signed this past December, stipulated that the U.S. military has 180 days to gather and analyze data related to UAPs from different military agencies and report the results to Congress. This and other events, such as videos being released that show something that is being labeled as unidentified by the Pentagon, have fueled the biggest media attention since the 2017 release of the first so-called Tic Tac videos, which the Pentagon later confirmed as genuine video of objects of unknown origin.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh.
At the time, a Pentagon insider named Luis Elizondo came out and told the world about his role in the AATIP program. That stood for Advanced Aerial Threat Identification Program. It was the first time anyone in government in the modern era admitted that the Pentagon was studying UFOs.
So, as you see here, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. This is the contract focus for AATIP. Pretty heavy stuff. No, we weren't looking at balloons. No, we weren't looking at drones. We weren't looking at aircraft. This is real. This is what your $22 million worth of tax money was spent on. And there's a lot of it.
Lue Elizondo made the rounds on TV, stopping just short of stating that the objects in the videos released at the same time were of unearthly origin.
My personal belief is that there is very compelling evidence that we may not be alone.
He was also part of another rollout of a new group called To the Stars Academy, a new business with the intention of taking the study of unknown technology mainstream, producing media and weighing heavily in on the narrative as events unfolded.
Together we can create a vehicle that pushes us forward, where we can hopefully learn that we are much more special and much more connected to each other than we could ever imagine. We are To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science, a public benefit corporation.
The core group of To the Stars Academy began with rock star Tom Delonge, who had been telling the world that he had been selected by shadowy government types to help unveil the alien presence.
I was traveling around the country secretly for 18 months at the time. I was working my way through NASA, the Department of Defense, and various other agencies. It was the first time I really digested the enormity of the national security implications of the UFO subject.
The rest of the group was a cast of characters that would be hard to believe if it didn't actually happen. Let's take a look. Luis Elizondo, fresh off his resignation from the government UFO study group. Jim Semivan, a former operations officer at the CIA for 25 years. Dr. Hal Puthoff, 50-plus years as a research scientist and an advisor for NASA and the NSA. Christopher Mellon, former Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence. And Steve Justice, former Director of Advanced Systems Development at Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. Many in the UFO field cried foul. This group consisted of people who arguably stood to know more about the truth regarding UFOs than almost anybody. And now here they were, telling us little or nothing of what they actually know while attempting to appear as being in front of the story.
When you look at all the people involved with To the Stars, I mean, every single one of them has deep state intelligence backgrounds. My message to them, if they were interested in hearing from me, would be, you know, look, the CIA and all these people associated with the Skunk Works and the other intelligence agencies, you're not the right people to come out with this. You're really not, because you're the ones that have been lying to us for 70 years, at least, if not 100. So you don't have a lot of credibility, and so you're only, whatever they put out is only going to go so deep.
We are dealing with people who have been in government, the military, the intelligence community, have access to classified information. But those people, all of them, will have to be very careful. And this is something that Lue Elizondo and I have spoken about, the walking of the line, that you want to give an informed insider's opinion about something of which you have direct knowledge and experience, but you never want to cross the line and divulge any classified information.
Two different arguments arose. Some argued that these people owed their knowledge to humanity. Others understood that these people were honoring their oaths and following orders, and they should be respected, not criticized for their positions. In this 2017 interview, I pressed Lue Elizondo on the topic.
I would say in some cases, you know, they say you know it, you owe it. I'd say if you know it, you blow it. You know, that's the last thing you want to do is tell the world a national security secret that's going to be at the detriment of the United States. I really resent the fact that some people say, you know, oh, this person's a whistleblower, they're a leaker. I'm not a whistleblower. In fact, if you look at a definition of whistleblower, I'm not a whistleblower. And as far as a leaker, I'll be damned if someone's going to call me a leaker, because a leaker is somebody who takes classified information and provides it in an unauthorized manner for the purpose of disclosure. I've never done that, and I never will do that. And I refuse to discuss anything classified. I've took an oath, which is, by the way, a lifelong oath. As I've told people before, don't ask me, because I'm not going to tell you.
But the continued secrecy by all of these people has not made it any easier for the longtime researchers and those who have a better perception of how much is actually being hidden. Expectations have been high that the government is going to finally make public what it knows and what it has investigated about the UFO phenomenon. But don't hold your breath. There's already rumors that the content of the release is being hotly debated inside the Pentagon, and there is a good case that the military is not the group with the final say on what gets released.
The Air Force interest in this problem has been due to our feeling of an obligation to identify and analyze to the best of our ability anything in the air that may have the possibility of threat or menace to the United States.
Imagine how difficult it will actually be for anyone to admit the truth about the biggest deception in human history. Stories early on about a group called MJ-12 being formed to manage the UFO situation at an above top secret level actually make sense.
My take from it is absolutely. There was a group, and I think it was called MJ-12. There's no reason for them to make up a different name.
We will have complete control.
And our mandate exactly?
To investigate the event and all of its implications.
And any other such events, should they occur.
And think of our religious institutions. I mean, if this were all to just come out, what are people going to believe in?
Not to mention the effect on our social and our political institutions.
That's why this information has to be so carefully controlled.
Well, as long as we control the way the information is released, leaks shouldn't necessarily hurt us.
In fact, mingled with a little well-placed disinformation, they should help.
This is classic disinfo. In other words, you put out information that maybe could come out someday, and you're worried about that, and you put it out, provide it anonymously to some researcher, but you also throw in the stuff that could be eventually proven to be false.
Even if you don't believe the MJ-12 stories specifically, this is what would have happened logically had the government of the time encountered an alien or unknown non-human intelligent presence. A group of people of high rank in government and science would have been convened, And the decision to keep the ET presences a secret, once decided, would have been managed with conviction ever since.
In the nation today, we're having a huge issue going on about the security system. And one of the biggest problems that's facing the government across the board is overclassification of damn near everything, not just in this arena, but basically everything.
Then there's the darker questions. What if the truth about a non-human intelligent presence is not something we even want to know? What if we're cattle or property or an experiment? Or what if interest in us is for less than friendly reasons? Finally, there's a possibility that these groups may know more than most of us, but they may not know as much as we think they do.
People do look at some of these things, particularly the incidents with Faded Giant that Bob Salas talks about, where you had missiles go down, absolutely real, studied the hell out of it, and end up with, have no idea.
So are we about to get the big D disclosure, defined as a political leader officially opening up the secrets and revealing a deception so large that it pans centuries and involves governments all over the world?
There's a lot more information I think needs to come out relating to this, but overall, I think the public and UFO research also should just take the win and recognize that there's valuable information that is reaching the public.
The people in control of this are in control now like never before. There's nothing we can do except to let them roll this out as they see fit and call them out when we can and when we should.
You notice with the UFO research community, there's always infighting, there's always arguments, there's always people calling it out. It's disinformation, it's an op, it's whatever. What they often forget is that the rest of the world knows next to nothing about UFOs. And you know, if you need to bring people along, sometimes you got to use baby steps, and sometimes you really do need a conservative, careful approach.
I have prayed and hoped ever since I started doing animal mutilation research 40 years ago, that we would come to a time when the entire political shift of the planet would move toward we are not alone, and that all citizens everywhere would be sharing finally in the kind of media that we are beginning to see now.
Don't expect some big earth-changing revelation to come from this latest information parade. It's all been done before. The Robertson panel in 1953 released a report following a political dive into the topic.
Ultimately, we learn about the Robertson panel, which was extremely important. You have the Stanford press conference. Gerald Ford pressed for a hearing on the subject. So we had a hearing in '66, and then there was a hearing in '68. These are very notable and easy to find.
So what can we expect in June? UFO disclosure, aliens at the White House, or perhaps more deception, hidden agenda, and lies? Let me venture a guess. We'll receive acknowledgement that the military is dealing with unknown technology of unknown origin. The unclassified reports will stop short of officially identifying them as being helmed by non-human intelligence.
I don't trust them. And it looks to me like this is a version of disclosure, but is it going to be the real truth? And I mean, I don't care about anything except what the actual truth is. So we'll see if they can get there.
We know they're here, we know you know they're here, and we know that you know that we know that you know they're here. And so let's just disclose that.
Some of the allies and people that we need to bring to bear who are sort of now getting on board wouldn't do so if we started with the premise that these are aliens.
UFOs have been around, you know, since, again, the beginning of time or recorded history as we know it. And I've argued that we're not at the stage of asking the right questions yet.
What we're talking about is something that is probably not ours or adversarial, something that we really just don't know where it's from. And may have been, frankly, here for quite a while.
Do you expect to see real answers in this report? What do you think?
Look, honestly, I don't think so, Jake.
The admission to the many by a few about the reality of an ET presence may possibly expand, but it will certainly fail to satisfy many who know so much more. But we're getting something, and that's the best we can hope for, because none of us have a choice. This story is not likely finally being told. It's just now being created.